Welcome to the StoryADay podcast. This is Julie Duffy from StoryADay.org, encouraging you to be a writer every day, not someday. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Julie from StoryADay here. How are you doing and how is your StoryADay May going? I've been doing much better this year than I have the last couple of years. When I've been so focused on running the challenge that I didn't really write very much. I started out with a bang. I wrote every single day, and then I have a confession to make. I missed a couple of days. Not in a row, but I missed a couple of days, but I keep just getting back on the horse because I could stop right now, and that would just be so disappointing. So I'm here to fess up in front of all of you StoryADay fans that sometimes we don't live up to our own expectations when it comes to writing, and we have a choice to make at that point. Do we throw a tantrum and say, I can never do this, I never get this, I'm terrible at it, I'm never going to make this work and I should just quit right now? Or we can face up to the fact that we're writers and we're going to keep coming back to it, so we might as well keep coming back to it as soon as possible. It was a thing that my folks always said, if you fell off your bike, you got right back on it again, because if you spent too long looking at the bike and looking at the bruises and scrapes on your hands, you would just start getting in your head about it and get worried about it. I'm sure they didn't use the phrase in your head about it. They probably just said, get back on your bike. But if we stay away from a thing for too long, we start to make up all kinds of stories in our heads about why we can't, why we're not the right kind of person, why this was a foolish idea anyway. And we are writers, we're creative, we've got really good imaginations. So when we want to convince ourselves of something, we're really good at it. So I'm here to invite you to join me in the casting off our sackcloth and ashes and just putting on our fancy clothes and our makeup and our writing hats and just getting back on the horse, back on the bike. And so that's what I'm doing today. I'm getting ready to start a writing sprint for the StoryADay community. And it's been really nice to hang out with everybody and write. One of the things I was doing early on in the challenge, I'm going to try and get back to. I stopped doing this before I started having a couple of days where I fell off the wagon. I was doing daily updates live on YouTube after I wrote every day because I just wanted to capture for you that absolute bubbly, energetic joy that comes after writing, even when I didn't feel like I'd written anything that was particularly a work of staggering genius, right? Some days it was just, hey, I wrote, and just spending an hour getting into the writing, which is usually what I allot for it. At the end of it, there was some point at which it started to flow, and I started to get that, oh, this is why I do this moment. So I was recording live YouTube, streaming live on YouTube afterwards, talking about that. And at some point I stopped doing that. So around about, I think, day 12 or 14, I stopped doing that because it was a weekend and there was stuff going on. And also because sometimes something has to give, right? You can't do all the things all the time. And writing every day, running the challenge and doing lives, I just couldn't keep it going up every day. However, I also learned that when I didn't have the accountability of doing the live, it was easier for me to go, oh, it's okay if I take a day off. I'll write tomorrow. So I'm going to get back to doing the lives. So if you want to follow me on YouTube, and you'll get my bubbly, I wrote today updates, which is going to be challenging next week because I'm going to be traveling, but I think I can make that work. I don't recommend shoehorning writing in every day if it's making you miserable. But I have set myself this challenge and it's just for 1 month. So I am going to continue writing through travel, through jet lag, and through family events. And I'm going to see what happens. And I think if you guys see me doing that, you'll know that I'm not just telling you to do as I say, not as I do. So let's see what else has been going on this week. I've been looking through people's comments as they come in for writing. And if you ever want a little boost go and read the comments at Story a Day under the daily posts, because just seeing how much joy people have actually doing the thing that they want to be doing is very inspiring. Read those comments and ask yourself how you could get involved. It is day 20, so there are 11 days after this where you could be writing a story a day, or you could be writing a story some of the days, and join in that group celebration of writing together, of being in something with other people, going through an event together, pushing yourself to do more than you think you can. These are all wonderful things to do, and they bleed out into the rest of your life. Bleed is a terrible term to use. They, let's say, flow out into the rest of your life. They moisture, I know this is going very wrong. They spread out into the rest of your life. The benefits of doing this thing, which is you paying attention to your own needs, doing something that is hard, all of these things inform everything else in your life. Taking action is incredibly powerful. And if you're taking action in one area of your life, it becomes easier to cope with difficult things in other areas of your life. Knowing that you can do the hard thing in any area of your life makes it easier to do the hard thing in every area of your life. And writing really it's not life or death. In some kind of psychological sense, it can be, because if we're not writing, a lot of us, we're not really living. We're not really processing. We're not really experiencing life the way that we prefer to do it. So in that sense, it is life or death. But it's in our culture, the one I live in anyway, it's unlikely that something terrible is going to happen to you if you write a terrible story, or if you write an honest story. There are places in the world where that will get you in serious trouble. For most of us, that's not the case. And taking action in this realm of our lives and writing is more important than it might seem, because it teaches us to be able to do that in every area of our life. Now, if you have started the Story a Day challenge this year, or if you couldn't do it because you had exams or school or something going on, but you would like to participate, I'm working on a couple of ways that you can do it yourself later in the year, whether it's after this month or in July or in November, whatever. Whenever you decide that you've got the right moment to take part in this particular 2023 StoryADay May challenge, I'm working on a way for you to be able to trigger that and go through it yourself. At which point I would really recommend you get a buddy, find a friend who wants to do it with you, because part of the reason this works is because it's public, and because there are other people going through it, and you feel like they're watching and expecting to hear from you how it's going. I've also got a slower paced challenge that we did last year called the Fun Size Challenge, and I'm working on putting that together as a self-contained course that you can go through, which you will be able to trigger whenever you want to start it. And that one takes you through the process of building a single story over a week, and starting to build your writing practice at the same time. So that's what's coming up next at Story a Day. It's going to just be a really short podcast today, because I've got a story to write, you've got a story to write. I hope that this has encouraged you. I also want to thank people who gave me nice comments about last week's podcast, where I was getting a bit opinionated, and that's always nerve-wracking to bear your deepest real thoughts about an issue that people have strong opinions on. And I have strong opinions on the need for our reading material and our writing community to be more diverse. And there's a real knee-jerk reaction that is possible and regrettably voiced too often. And last week's podcast, if you haven't listened to that, I took on what I consider to be an unhelpful and knee-jerk reaction from a Washington Post opinion columnist about diversity in literature. And this is an issue that we should talk about on both sides. I don't want people whispering in secret about their opposition to this. I am glad that we can have a frank discussion about this. And I appreciate everybody who contacted me and said that they liked my take on it. Not liked my take, but supported and were glad to hear the take on it that it was comforting to know that I wasn't crazy. That's what I have for you this week. And yeah, a little scattered, but that's because we're in week 3, going into week 4 of StoryADay May, and there are just lots of ideas swirling around in my head. I hope you're writing. I hope you'll be back next week for a possibly more coherent podcast. And jump into the challenge if you haven't already. If you were writing and have stopped, come on back. I fell off a couple of days as well. I'm just keeping going. I'm just coming back to it. So I hope you'll join me. If all of this is impossible this month, stay tuned for the various ways I'm going to be opening up for you to really work on your writing in a way that works for you at your own pace, on your own schedule. Have a great writing week. Keep writing, and you will hear from me again soon. If you want to learn to write, don't read another book or article. Start writing. I'm here to invite you to consider the StoryADay 3-Day Challenge. It's a challenge and a workshop that gets people writing and completing stories in just 3 days. And it works. I'm fanatical about getting more and more diverse stories into the world, and I think yours should be among them. If you're feeling the pull to write or level up your storytelling, let me hold your hand through 3 days of short story writing. Check out the 3-Day Challenge at storyaday.org/3DC. Thanks for listening. Why not come over to the blog at storyaday.org and check out this week's writing prompts and articles. And in the meantime, have a great creative week and of course, keep writing.